Hey everyone, what's going on? Christopher, the video game historian here, and while I know I was supposed to deliver my Ezio video 2 weeks ago, unfortunately stuff came up in life that forced me to put that video on hold for the moment. However, I still wanted to put out a video this week, and fortunately, as my luck would have it, I pretty much had this video raring to go already. Now, taking a break from the settings of Assassin's Creed, this week I wanted to take a quick look at one of the aspects of Assassin's Creed Valhalla and the Viking culture, and that is the Jomsvikings. Who were they, when were they active, and what was their code? This is the real history of the Norse Jomsvikings. So outside of Assassin's Creed, who exactly were the Jomsvikings? Well, unfortunately, we don't really have a whole lot to go on about who they were. We do know that they were a group of highly skilled Viking warriors that were founded in the 10th century at Jomsborg, and that they had a strict code that they had to adhere to. But unfortunately, aside from that, their history is just obscured in fables, legends, and conflicting historical sources that their deeds, origins, and even their fortress at Jomsborg is often debated by scholars. Now, what we do know is that they were depicted in 3 prominent Icelandic sagas recounting their adventures, those being the Jomsviking saga, King Olaf Tryggvason saga, and the Book of the Flat Island. Now, the Jomsviking saga is probably the most noteworthy text describing the history of the Jomsviking, but also probably the most conflicting with other historical sources. One account, for example, according to the saga, is that the Jomsviking were founded at Jomsborg by Toke the Archer, with land granted to him by the Wendish ruler Burislav, while a separate historical source states that the Brotherhood was established with the help from King Harold Bluetooth, who supplied Toke the Archer with a fleet of longships. Unfortunately, it is difficult to verify which source is most accurate, and the real history just might be somewhere in the middle. Now, the Jomsviking saga also established a strict code of conduct for the Jomsvikings, and how one was recruited into it. Since the Brotherhood was selective, not anyone could simply join. Only those who were capable of fighting and those seeking adventure, proving they were capable, could join the order. In fact, even in order to join the Jomsviking Brotherhood, one had to defeat a member of the order in a duel known as a holmgang. This proved that the candidate was a capable fighter and warrior worthy of being a Jomsviking. Once recruited, each new member swore an oath to not only defend their brothers and to avenge their deaths if need be, but to also to never speak ill of their brothers or to fight with other members. With the exception of an ordered retreat, if they were vastly outnumbered, the Jomsvikings were forbidden to flee or to show fear in the face of their enemy, and loot was equally distributed among the members. Should anyone break their oath or violate the code of conduct, they were immediately expelled from the order. Now, while Rada will often give Eivor a contract to hunt down and kill a former Jomsviking for breaking their oath and betraying their order, I am actually uncertain if death was ever used as a punishment on a Jomsviking for doing exactly that. Maybe if what they did to be expelled from the order was serious enough, it potentially could have been, but unfortunately I cannot say for certain. It's also unclear whether women could become Jomsvikings or not, since we see in Assassin's Creed Valhalla where we get to choose the gender of our own custom Jomsvikings in-game, but at the same time both women and children were forbidden within the walls of Jomsborg. Yet the youngest member to be recruited into the order was only 12 years old. So, maybe? Hard to definitively say for certain, as I cannot find a source on women becoming Jomsvikings. Now, like much of the history of the Jomsvikings, it's difficult to tell when they first began and were first established and how long they lasted. We do know that they were active from at least a few years prior to 984 current era, as in that year they intervened in a dynastic dispute in Sweden and then again in Norway in 986. And then ultimately came to an end sometime in 1043, giving the order roughly 60 years of activity. In between those years, however, the Jomsvikings had many successes under many different leaders taking the helm. In 1011, the Jomsvikings under the leadership of Thorkel the Tall managed to successfully raid England, defeating the local forces before being offered payment from the king known as the Danegild in order to cease the fighting. The following year, the order split, and Thorkel and his men stayed in England, aiding the king to fend off Sven Forkbeard and his band of Jomsvikings attempting to raid England. While Thorkel and his men were successful, they were ultimately betrayed by the Saxons, forcing them to retreat and flee back to Denmark, wherein they ironically took service with Forkbeard, whom they were just fighting not too long ago. A few years later, in 1015, Forkbeard's son Canute took Thorkel's men and successfully raided and conquered England. For his services and for his help in conquering the island, Thorkel the Tall was appointed as Earl of East Anglia, while his band of Jomsvikings became the Huscarls of Canute. Now, it is uncertain how the order of the Jomsvikings ended. Some sources state that King Magnus I of Norway decided to put an end to the order by sacking and destroying the fortress at Jomsburg in 1043, effectively putting an end to the Jomsvikings brotherhood. Other sources say that they were wiped out as they fought too many battles as Viking mercenaries. Again, the historical truth probably lies somewhere in between. However, while they may not have been around for very long, it is estimated that at their height they had a strength of 30 ships and between 900 and 2,000 warriors with allies all across Scandinavia. Now, there's actually a lot more information on the Jomsvikings than what I covered in this video, such as their alliances around Scandinavia, the many battles they got into, and the various leaders who took up commanding the order throughout their existence, as well as the many notable Jomsvikings within the order. Only reason I did not include much of that information is due to how much the leadership seemed to change within such a short amount of time, and who each of these people were. If you want to learn more about the Jomsvikings, I do have my sources listed in the description and encourage you to go read them, and that does include the Wikipedia page. But for now, that's all I really have on the topic. Let me know what you think of the Jomsvikings in-game, as well as their... Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I'm still working on my Ezio trilogy video, and I do promise this will be my next video, but I'm not making any promises for when that will be out. Hitting the notification bell will let you know, however, when I eventually do release it and when it does go live. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.